Hi, in this MuseumIndex Plus video I'm going to show you a useful little tool within the application called the Organiser, which allows you to store sets of records for future use in all sorts of purposes actually. So in a previous video on searching we saw how it's possible to search for, retrieve sets of records either by searching on simple free text searches like the word chair there, or by using the advanced search form to search on specific criteria like, for example, the production date. So I can search for my 17th century objects. Having done these searches, so this search has brought back 102 17th century records, there might be particular records in the search result down here that I'm interested in. So for example, if I'm interested in this record, and this record, I can mark those with a simple click in the summary, and I can look at those records by picking View Marked on the search menu, and that shows me just my 3 marked records. Alternatively, if I go back to my search result with my 3 marked records, I can use View Unmarked to exclude those 3 from my search result. So those are all ways that we can refine search results to get a particular set of records that may be of interest in what I'm currently trying to achieve. But if I want to store that set of records permanently, then that's where the Organiser comes in. So let's have a little look at the Organiser. The Organiser is it's a folder structure essentially, and you can create as many different folders and subfolders as you like. They can be private folders or they can be shared with other users of the system. Let's have a look at one particular folder. So within here, some of my demo sets, I've got a set here of 12 records, which are all good examples of records with label text. What I can do, so I can see that set of records as a quick summary result here. We've got thumbnails, the museum number, and brief description as a bit of hover text. And if I double click on that folder, that will retrieve those 12 records so that I can now continue to use, I can work on those, I can do editing or reporting on those records, for example. So let's just bring the Organiser back again. Let me just show you how you'd go about creating a brand new set in the Organiser. What I'm going to do is, let's suppose that we were planning an exhibition that was going to take place in 2015, and I wanted to start considering which objects I was going to use in that exhibition. So what I can do is I'll create a folder below the selected one, and we'll call this Christmas Exhibition. And now what I can do is I can simply drag and drop records into that folder. So, for example, I could just take this record, this carpet, and I could just drag that into here and add that to my folder. I can also, if I go back to the search result where I'd marked a few records, so here where I'd marked these 3 records, I can drag the marked records into my folder again. I can pick a completely different search. So earlier on I did a search here for 17th century records. And let's just pick a few of these. Suppose I wanted these 3. Again, I can just mark those and drag them into my Organiser. Once I've got my Organiser set, I can reorder the objects. So you might use the order to, represent some kind of priority. They're the ones at the end are the ones you're maybe not so interested in. Perhaps you're putting together a publication and the order is going to represent the order of the pages of the publication. I can remove images again, so I've got these 2 and I decide this is the one I want, so I can remove this one from my set of images. And eventually I get the set of records that I want in my Organiser set. Like I say, I can share that with other people. there are privacy options on an organizer set, so currently this set is public. I can make it private, or I can share it between different groups. I can move sets around, so if I put this in the wrong folder and actually I suddenly realise I meant it to be in the 2014 folder, then I can move it there, or I can drag it back to 2015. So I can rearrange the folder structure very easily. I can create subfolders as well, so below 2015 we could have sort of a folder called December, and then I could move the Christmas exhibition set underneath December. So it's very easy to organize these things into logical places where you can find them. Let's have a look at how we'd use this organizer set in actually putting the exhibition together. So once I've created that set, if I were to create my exhibition procedure, I've covered this in more detail in a separate video on procedures. But let's just quickly set up a procedure exhibition. Christmas exhibition, let's suppose this is going to be exhibiting at the, we'll use the Tate Gallery as an example again, and the start date is going to be the 10th of December 2015, it's going to run to the 20th of December 2015. So there's my procedure record describing the exhibition. What I did in the previous video was I showed how you could add items to this procedure by running a search. The procedure moves up into this window here, and we have the search form behind us to search for our objects. In this instance, because I have an organizer set, what I can do is I can just bring the organizer set up and simply drag and drop that set onto my procedure. So it's a very convenient way of pre-preparing the set of objects that you want to use in something like a procedure. Go back to my procedure, and there are my objects. The one other thing you can do with the organizer, which can be very useful, is as well as storing specific sets of objects, so in a particular order, so this particular set of 4 objects, I can also store searches that'll be rerun later. So it's also a place to save searches. Just to illustrate that, if I run a search for objects, and we've already got here 17th century, let's change this, let's bring this up to the 19th century. 347, and let's just narrow that down a bit as well. Let's say that we're interested in 19th century records that have at least one image, and let's say that are made of metal. So that's brought back 56 records describing 19th century metal objects where we have at least one image. What I can now do, bring the organizer back up, let's create a folder up here, and I can just create another set. Now, instead of what I'm going to do here, instead of creating a folder, I'm going to create a dynamic folder, and let's just do that, and then I'll explain actually a dynamic folder below the selected called 19th century metal. Now what that's done, that's stored this set of, we can see this set of 56 objects in this folder, but it's not storing that actual set of 56 records. In this case it's storing the search I used to find them. So in this case I've stored these actual 15 records. In this case I'm storing the search that in this instance happens to bring back 56 records. Just to illustrate that, let me just go to that set of records, and let me just change the production date of this first record so that it's no longer 19th century. So So we'll just edit this record, change its date. Let's make it 17th century instead. Now if I go back to the organizer, and refresh that set, you can see I've now only got 55 objects. So that's the key difference between these two. This is storing these 15 objects. This is storing the search that retrieves these 55 objects. And that basically concludes this demonstration of the organizer within MuseumIndex Plus. Thank you.